obviously, Elon's played a critical role leading up to the 2024 election, critical role just even preparing for the transition of this administration, the first 100 days of this administration. My expectation is he will continue to play a critical role moving forward.
I'm sitting down with Chris Gober, the founder and CEO of LexPolitica. You represented Elon Musk's America PAC, and you successfully stopped the Wisconsin Attorney General from preventing Musk from handing out $1 million checks shortly before the very momentous Supreme Court election. Could you tell me about that case?
Yeah, so Elon Musk was paying petition signers to sign a petition opposing activist judges. Obviously, a lot of irony of the Wisconsin Attorney General, who was Democrat, coming in and trying to shut down Elon from exercising his First Amendment rights. He first tried to get an injunction to enjoin us Friday before the election. We won that. He appealed it to the Court of Appeals in Wisconsin. We won that. He then appealed it to the Supreme Court, and we won that. So we were able to hold a rally on Sunday night as planned, announce a petition strategy, move forward, and Elon was able to exercise his First Amendment rights, just like we did in Philadelphia. They tried to shut us down through the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. So it's kind of time and time again, we've had some Democratic, aggressive prosecutors and attorney generals try to stop this action, and they failed time and time again.
Could you tell us a little bit of background information about your law firm?
Yeah, so LexPolitica, it's kind of the new updated version of a law firm that was established over a decade ago. But really, we wanted to rebrand because LexPolitica is the law firm kind of built for the current times. President Trump, this administration, moving forward, just advancing the conservative movement, redefining it. We wanted to build a law firm that's really built for that moment. Right now, big law is just failing the conservative movement. For too long, we've had big law firms just treat conservative candidates, causes, office holders, and the conservative movement in just general as a liability. We wanted to build the law firm that is unapologetically representing those interests and going out and being pro-conservative and pro-victory.
A common criticism from the left of DOGE and Elon Musk is that it's unconstitutional and he shouldn't have access to citizens' personal data. What's your response to that?
Well, I would say overall, I mean, you see the Democrats and the liberals really attack Elon and try to make this personal. You don't see a whole lot of, focus right now on what is occurring at DOGE, the type of efficiencies that are being created, the waste that is being exposed. That's because, frankly, that message doesn't work for them because the vast majority of the American public are in favor of what is going on with the Department of Government Efficiency, what it represents. And so, despite all of the attacks, it is what the people want, it's what the people are going to get. And I think that even long after, even if Elon leaves, I think what you're going to see is what we've changed is kind of the spirit of our desire to create a more efficient government, to go detect the waste and actually just make some changes in Washington.
That's a good point. As a special government employee, Musk is only allowed to work 130 days per year. He has said he will step down in May. What is the future of DOGE potentially without him?
Well, I think, it's like with a lot of things that I think that Elon sets the tone. And I think that like his involvement with DOGE, I think was critical in order to set the tone. I mean, you go into, you've heard stories about the Eisenhower, old executive office building and mattresses being brought in, and kind of this mentality of the startup mentality of people working through the clock, knowing that we're on a tight deadline and a short amount of time to fundamentally change things. And I think he sets that tone. He leads by example. So long after he's gone, I think that's the tone that will continue to persist. I think it's absolutely critical we have that kind of urgency within our own federal government of the people working there, that is important that he did that, and I think it will prove important long after he's gone.
So you would say we can expect DOGE to be an ongoing effort throughout the administration?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what the American people want. I mean, what you saw this with, DOGE was not necessarily something that you saw President Trump campaigning on, a year ago, 2 years ago. And this is a really kind of a movement that really even emerged towards the end of the campaign, really took hold even, upon like the election and post-election. But you saw it, and it really took flight because, again, the American people, this is what they wanted. And that President Trump, I mean, he's given the American people what they want. He's smart to do that because, I mean, we have a short window potentially to make the fundamental changes that we need to make.
What do you see Musk's involvement with the administration being after his 130 days? Will he go into a different position? Can we see him again for another 130 days in 2026? What do you expect to happen there?
Well, I think, obviously Elon's played a critical role leading up to the 2024 election, critical role just even preparing for the transition of this administration. The first 100 days of this administration, my expectation is he will continue to play a critical role moving forward.
You mentioned the way Republicans have been treated and LexPolitica's goal of changing that. How much resistance have you gotten from the entrenched bureaucrats of the civil service, sometimes known as the deep state?
Well, we're not going to be seen as fans of the deep state or the bureaucrats in Washington. We're going to come straight at them. They know we're not their friends, and we're unapologetically coming after them and trying to change the government and change the way we do things.
Would you say there have been consistent efforts to undermine Elon Musk and DOGE?
Oh, absolutely. There's kind of an aspect to what's going on in Washington with DOGE and President Trump's initiatives is almost kind of a flood the zone mentality. There's a lot of changes. I think Democrats have had a very hard time catching up, finding themselves on their heels. That's strategic. It's smart. And I think they've been losing that battle. I think they'll continue to lose that battle. So they're gonna do whatever they can to try to slow it down.
Elon Musk is currently being sued along with America PAC by a canvasser who said that they weren't paid appropriately. $20,000 is what they're looking for. What is your argument in that case?
Yeah, so I won't get into too many details on the legal arguments and facts there, but we'll say this, and we've said this in court filings. It is important to America PAC, to Elon, anybody who went out, obtained petitions, did the work. We want to make sure anybody that is owed money was paid. That is absolutely the case. Now, we've also had some other instances where there were fraudulent efforts, made up names, other aspects of things. So with any of these claims, anytime somebody comes to us and says, okay, we're owed this money, what we're doing is we're trying to get to the bottom of it, analyze, why was it flagged? Why were they not paid? If it turns out somebody was owed money, we're going to pay the money. It turns out somebody actually, tried to, defraud the system, we're not going to pay the money.
DOGE has been working with all the agencies to cut wasteful spending. Do you know which agency has been the most difficult or there's been the most waste to attack?
Well, I don't think there's any shortage of any department in government where there's not waste to be uncovered. I think that remains to be seen ultimately with not only what's happened over the first 100 days. I mean, this is just the start. I think to truly answer that question and have the answer, I think we have to wait for the rest of the next 100 days, next 150 days to kind of see where that ends up.
There have been challenges to DOGE's efforts to view data and find waste through seeing that sort of information that the average American wouldn't have access to. What is your argument on behalf of Musk and DOGE being able to access that data?
Well, I think you're having people make a lot of these arguments just because they don't want to see the advances being made by DOGE and actually making government more efficient. But the fact that the arguments that you can have a government employee get access to this data, I just don't think really holds water.
What is one thing people should know about Elon Musk that you would say the media misses?
I think it's just Elon's desire to fundamentally change the country and how important that is to him. For somebody that put so much on the line of his personal wealth, his companies, his time, his focus, his energy. I think that's often lost. I know there's a lot of people who want to be detractors, want to challenge him because they don't agree, with what he's doing. But I think the one thing you just have to recognize is the patriotism that he exhibits, and I think it's something to be admired, whether you agree with him or not, that he is doing this for the right reason, and that is the care of this country.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about your work at LexPolitica? I
would say, I think we're the future of the conservative movement. What's critical is, Donald Trump is changing politics, changing conservatism, and much to the chagrin of a lot of people, this is not something, and this is not a movement that ends in 2028. This is something that is going to live on. There's going to be effects of how we do business and how politics is run, and with that, law firms, corporate America, all the industries, they need to also catch up to that and evolve. And I think what we see is, traditional big law and the firms that have been, legacy players in and around Washington, around the United States, they're becoming obsolete. They're able to silence conservative voices. They're able to stifle conservative movements. They can hide behind conflicts in order to keep from offending the sensitivities of their own lawyers or their clients. And I think that's what we're looking to build, is a law firm that we're unapologetic about who we represent, about what we do, and the victories we bring home for our clients.
Amazing. Well, I know we'll all really look forward to continuing to follow that. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Subscribe to get the news the legacy media won't tell you and only the Daily Signal can bring to you.